Things like this usually don't happen in a community like ours. It's very tragic.
Investigators release autopsy reports today for 8 members of an Ohio family killed execution style.
We begin tonight with a deadline that has passed for the mother of 2 missing children from Rexburg.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, I wanted to do a quick update episode. There's a few updates in some cases, some you probably heard, and then some others it doesn't seem like they're getting much coverage. The accused killer of Faith Hedgepeth, he was back in court, which, like I said, it does not seem like a lot of people are talking about this case since there was an arrest. I do want to give a big thank you to Pierre for letting me know in the comments about this update. I had no idea he was back in court. Sometimes it's so much to follow all the different cases that we're following. I do appreciate you and all your guys' continued support. Speaking of support, though, I do want to ask for you guys to please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers. Now, as a reminder, Faith Hedgepeth was found dead inside her apartment that she shared with one of her friends. According to reports, that roommate left their apartment at around 4 a.m. on September 7, 2012, and when she returned a few hours later, around 11 a.m., she found Faith dead. For years, Faith's case went unsolved. The public spent a lot of time picking apart those closest to Faith, including Faith's roommate. But ultimately, it's reported that DNA that was found at the crime scene is what led investigators to her killer. Police used DNA testing to identify Miguel Salguero Olivares, a match of one of his relatives. They later learned that he lived near Faith back when the murder occurred in 2012. He was arrested on September 16, 2021. Miguel was recently back in court where the judge made it clear it was time to set a trial date. The prosecution told the court, though, that they felt it was too premature to do that. They were still waiting on some testing to be complete, and that could take several more months. They explained that the delay is due to the large amount of evidence collected and generated over the years through multiple different agencies that have been involved in investigating Faith's case on and off since 2012. But the judge wasn't having it. He pointed out this case is 13 years old, and he said that he's not going to look the victim's family or the defendant and tell them that it's going to be another 2 years before a trial starts. The defense agreed, suggesting a May 2026 trial date, citing that their client has been in and out of court for the last 4 years. Now, the prosecution, on the other hand, pushed for a September 2026 trial. They said they're still waiting on the state crime lab to finish processing evidence, and they also want to allow time for discovery for the defense to conduct any other testing that they needed. However, the defense declined this, explaining that if the state lab actually does the testing, they don't need to do additional tests themselves. However, they are concerned about evidence that has yet to be tested, something that they actually filed a motion about back in August of 2025. The defense said that they wanted a chance to test some of the evidence, but the prosecution argued that the state lab should be conducting the test first before anything is turned over to the defense. At the hearing, the defense said that the Chapel Hill police had written in their original report that they collected a blood sample left on the bathroom door at the time of Faith's death. When the defense later inquired about this evidence, the department reportedly said that they didn't have it. Now, the judge ordered the prosecution to get an explanation from the department on where this evidence is by the week of December 13th. He said that if they can't find it, that's something they'll deal with. It's okay, but they'll deal with it. During the 2-hour hearing, the defense also stated that they wanted to depose 2 out-of-state witnesses, arguing that it can cause them hardship to have to bring them all the way to North Carolina for the trial. However, the judge stated that due to the severity of the crime, the witnesses should really be testifying in person. In the end, the judge set a trial date of September 28, 2026. That's just 2 days after Faith's birthday and a little over 14 years since she was found murdered. Now, Miguel, if you don't remember, he's facing first-degree murder and first-degree rape, along with a list of other charges, including burglary and other sexual offense charges. Now, moving on, I wanted to quickly just cover the case of Ronald Haro, where his father, Jake Haro, was sentenced officially to 25 years to life in prison for the death of his 7-month-old son. With that plea and sentencing happening, we still really don't know what happened to Emmanuel or where he is. Is it possible that maybe the investigators know more, but they're keeping these details close to the vest, especially since Jake's wife, Rebecca, she is not taking accountability for this. She is still pleading not guilty, and she was actually set to be in court in the beginning of November, but that was actually moved to January 21st, 2026. And as of this recording, she still is in a not guilty plea, and we'll have to just wait and see how her case plays out, especially since the person who is accused of doing what was being done has already taken a plea deal. So we'll have to see what she has to say about it. Now, there's been some movement again in Ronald Exantus. He was extradited back to Kentucky from Florida. If you're not familiar with that case, I'll go ahead and link the full video I did on it here. He was actually released after serving just 7 years for breaking into the home and killing 6-year-old Logan Tipton. It was reported that Ronald Exantus drove over 200 miles from his home in Indiana to the Kentucky home of this family. It's not that he knew this family beforehand. According to reports, it looks like Logan's mother was working third shift that evening and didn't have a house key. So their father left the door unlocked for her, and unfortunately, Ronald found the unlocked door and went inside. He located a knife in the kitchen, and he used that to stab Logan and his 2 sisters. Tragically, Logan lost his life. A jury later found Exantus not guilty by reason of insanity in Logan's death, but he was found guilty but mentally ill in the assault of the other children in the home. Thankfully, those 2 survived. He was sentenced to 20 years in 2018, but because of good time credits and other various factors, he was released after serving only 7 years. I still can't fucking believe that. 7 years of a 20-year sentence? Why even sentence him for 20 years? However, after his release, Ronald moved to Florida, where he was required to register as a convicted felon with the local sheriff within 48 hours of moving there, but he took much longer than that. Records show that he obtained a Florida driver's license on October 3rd, yet he didn't register, I believe, until the 8th or 9th, so it was definitely more than 48 hours. So police used this to arrest him, to put him back in jail for violating his probation or his parole. Logan's family and several lawmakers are now asking the parole board to send Exantus back to prison and prevent early release. I just do not understand. Good credits for someone who commits violent crimes. I don't understand how that can be a thing. I do get that in prison you have to have some sort of like positive reinforcement to basically make them act like normal civilized people, but 7 fucking years for assault charges, it blows my mind. Assault charges on 2 young children in their own home sleeping. Could they ever feel safe again? Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, Logan's family is pushing for what they're called Logan's Law. It requires that anyone who is mentally ill or not guilty due to mental illness to be sent to a mental health facility before being released back into the community. Now, I wish that was only possible. I hope that something becomes of this, because this is just a horrific crime all around. And I do understand that Ronald Exantus was found mentally ill during this and that not guilty because he was mentally ill. But I just feel that 7 years for a 6-year-old's life is just horrific. I just cannot. But I will keep you guys updated in these cases or any of the other ones that we're following. If there's any that you guys would like me to follow, please feel free to send that my way. I'd love to follow new cases, and especially ones that, like I've said before, aren't overly covered. Not that those don't deserve coverage, but so doesn't every other one, right? But until next time, guys, stay safe out there. This world is an ugly ass place.